How are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. This is a bit of an unplanned one. I'm going to be talking about the Phil Collins film that's on YouTube at the moment. It premiered last night, so it's called Phil Collins Drummer First, and it focuses mainly on Phil Collins' early years as the drummer of Genesis. And what really impressed me as well is that it sheds a bit of light on Brand X as well. It basically covers all bases. And yeah, I saw the trailer for it the other day and thought it looked interesting. And the 2-hour video premiered on Drumeo last night. And I thought I'd watch 20 minutes or so of it and ended up watching the entire thing. I think maybe the last half hour I started looking at the time a little bit, thinking, you know, okay. Then I thought, oh, well, you've got this far, you might as well finish it. But yeah, it was really good. So Drumeo are a YouTube channel that was a drumming channel, basically. So you get famous drummers being interviewed. I'm guessing there's, you know, setup videos on how the kits are set up and playthrough videos, tutorials, so on and so forth. And yeah, rightfully so. They've put together this film that talks about Phil Collins and focuses. I mean, it goes on the rest of his career sort of towards the end, but it really focuses at the beginning on his early years in Genesis and him as a drummer, because I think he does. I think everyone says, they say it in the film, like how underrated as a drummer he is and how it's not really. I suppose when his solo career has taken off the way it has, or took off the way it did, yeah, that element is going to get overshadowed. It's crazy to believe. It's crazy to think that as a solo artist, in terms of record sales, he was second only to Michael Jackson. And it's nice to see that the world's sort of come round again and he's getting a bit of praise, because there was a time when Phil Collins was just the absolute height of uncool. I suppose later, you know, his later solo career probably had more to do with that. I mean, you know, when you're talking as a prog rock fan, for example, you're talking about Genesis, I suppose a generation just thinks of I Can't Dance, you know, at a video, you know. But it's nice to focus back on the beginning, and I really enjoyed it. It's heartwarming to see as well the rapport between him and his son. So you got Nick Collins. It starts off with him and this other guy, and they're unboxing a lot of his old drum kits from previous tours, and they're, you know, putting them together. And you know, I think there's the drum kit that Seconds Out was recorded with, and it goes in with that. And but what's really great to see is that he's getting praise from so many different drummers, everything from metal drummers like who I think actually started this. They started planting the seeds a few years ago, but Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, but more importantly Brian Daler from Mastodon. He was the first. It was the first time I sort of, oh wow, yeah, okay, cool. When I remember reading something with Brian Daler, and they said, like, who's your top 5 drummers? And he said the usual, you know, Dave Lombardo, but he said Phil Collins. And yeah, Phil Collins, those early Genesis albums are brilliant. And I kind of bit by bit saw the thing, you know, the attitude turn round. And I think, but yeah, you got, you know, metal drummers, obviously the Chad Smiths on there from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Mike Portnoy, Brian Daler, various metal drummers. But then you've got like the drummer of like Michael Jackson and Chaka Khan, you know. So everyone is giving him praise. And what really impressed me as well is that Brand X gets, there's a little bit of coverage on Brand X as well. That was like an instrumental proggy jazz band that Phil was involved in. He did 2 albums and a live album with them in the 70s. Although Phil says, you know, a lot of this was just a jam session. A lot of it was improv. But, you know, in the 70s, and through the 80s, the guy just didn't stop. But what was nice to see as well is that Chester Thompson got a lot of love on the show as well, because Chester obviously was when when Peter Gabriel left Genesis and then Phil took over on vocals, he was still drumming on the albums, but obviously he didn't want to do the whole drumming and singing during a live show. So it made sense to have a drummer, and then the sort of central part of the show was when Chester and Phil would do like a drum, I suppose like a drum battle. They weren't battling against each other; they were just drumming together. And obviously Chester Thompson, before taking over as the live drummer for Genesis, he'd drummed for people like Frank Zappa. So he's got a fantastic CV in his own right. But it was good to see they shined light on him as well. As I say as well, it was nice to see the father and son back and forth between Phil and Nick, and it was just a really enjoyable video. It was really I say it's a video, it's a film, but it's on YouTube. Who knows? But it's really worth watching, and I think as well, if you aren't really familiar with the early days of Genesis, and as Phil just as a drummer, I'll give you a little guide here. I might as well get into it now, but well, I think his peak as a drummer, strictly as a drummer, is Brand X. Like I say, it's kind of jazz prog. Yeah, it's a bit weird, and it's instrumental. So whether it is to your taste is, I'll let you do that. There's a really good video actually of Brand X on the Old Grey Whistle test. You'll find that on YouTube easy enough. But strictly speaking, as a drummer, I think that was Phil's peak. But definitely, again, forget Invisible Touch and I Can't Dance and I'm Turn It On Again and all that. This is what you want. And I think what's important as well is, I was talking about this a few months ago with a friend. It seems prog has kind of stopped, and heavy metal has really sort of taken the gauntlet from prog. It's metal bands that are shining the torch or carrying the torch of prog, and reminding people to go check out King Crimson, Yes, and Genesis, and so on and so forth. And these styles of albums, it's your Dream Theaters, it's your Opeth, it's your Blood Incantations that are doing this today. What you're getting with those early King Crimson albums, those early Yes albums, Spock's Beard or whoever it is, pushing that element of that style of album with the artwork and the long songs and the concepts, and you're putting an album on and going on a journey. It's metal bands that are doing that now, and it's metal bands that are shining that torch back to the past. So, yeah, like I say, if you're you're a bit younger and you're into Blood Incantation and Opeth and bands like that, and like I say, all you think of is Genesis' dad rock, then go back and check some of this stuff out. So, again, a lot of people don't realise if they're unless they're a proper fan. But yeah, Phil Collins didn't actually join Genesis till the third album. So the first album's Nursery Crime, and then followed up by Foxtrot. This one I really like. It's got this really cool sort of keyboard introduction on Watcher of the Skies. I mean, they're all great, and they're all they sound English. Like, these songs couldn't be written by anyone else in the world, basically. The absolute favourite for me is Selling England by the Pound. This is amazing. And if you're into Mastodon and stuff like that, this is the album that you will appreciate. And I remember reading somewhere Phil Collins' Morse code drumming, and I think that sums up perfectly. But yeah, this totally rewards repeated listens. Really good live album. Genesis Live. This is the last. So this is a live album with Peter Gabriel on vocals, which is pretty rare nowadays. And then the last album they did with Peter, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So some people say that this is their favourite album by Genesis. It's Brian Daler from Mastodons, and a lot of people say it's better than The Wall. To me, there's just so much going on, and I find it a bit of a confusing listen, actually. I don't get what the story's about. There's some amazing music on there, but did it need to be a double album? Don't know. But they did the album in full as well, like with a full production and everything. And I don't know, the footage of Genesis live in this time is a bit rare to come across. And there's like tribute bands now that are like recreating it all with the costumes and everything. I've not managed to see it, but yeah, it seems like this area of the band has definitely got a cult following now, which is good to see. And then these are the two albums where Phil takes over on drums, and they released both of these albums in 1 year. And the songwriting is really good, but yeah, you can kind of start to see the drumming is sort of he's not as all over the place and all over the kit. But then this is a really good live album as well. Seconds out, mind you. Chester is on this. Chester Thompson's on this now, but there must be a. Is there a drum solo on this? I can't remember now. I ain't listened to it in a while, but it's really good. So yeah, so I'd say check these out last. This is like if you start with Selling England by the Pound. Then go with Lamb Lies on Broadway. Don't take much notice of me. It is, it's just my personal thing for it, but it's definitely worth. You got to listen to it, and then sort of work your way backwards and then forwards. Then if you like what you hear, then check them out, and if you like what you hear, check them out, and then go get the rest of the catalogue and get Abacab and Invisible Touch and We Can't Dance and all that. You just get them. You just become a dad. That's all. You just dad rock. That's what it is. So here you go. It's definitely worth watching, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see Phil get a bit of appreciation, because I'd say he was the height of uncool for a while, like with your Noel Gallagher's and the rest of it. I ain't got to say, maybe some of it was uncool, but in its own kind of way, what is old is new again, and the uncool has kind of become pretty cool. So yeah, there's no shame in being a Phil Collins fan, damn it. There you go. I've said it. Anyway, see you later, folks. Have a good one.